Hello and welcome back to Beauty Bee. So I thought that I would just take you guys through my makeup collection. My intention going forward is to do quite a few tutorials where the look is inspired by a particular release. For example, I posted one at this point earlier this week, but probably by the time I post this next week, that was inspired by the Natasha Denona bronze palette, but just using items I already had in my collection. So I thought it might be worthwhile to show you exactly what that collection consists of. So I keep all of my makeup in this little flowered box. It's about 4 by 4 inches, maybe close to as deep. For reference, here's my hand. So yeah, it's not a particularly big box. It is very glittery though. I don't know how well that's gonna pick up on camera, but big fan. I think it's also worth mentioning that this is not everything I own, but I am in quarantine with my parents and have been for the last couple months. So this is everything that I have been using for the last 3.5, going on 4 months at this point. So let's get into it. Here's the e.l.f. Instant Lift Brow Pencil. I use it in the color Blonde. It is a pretty good match for me. However, I have fairly dark blonde, somewhat reddish leaning hair, and I don't know if it would really be that helpful for someone who was a lighter blonde than me. Here's the e.l.f. Professional 3-in-1 Mascara. I've been using this off and on for years. I believe this was actually the first mascara I ever purchased. I use the black or very black. I just kind of switch between because I don't see any real difference between them. And yeah, this is a good one. I think it's about $5.50 usually at the drugstore, and it's not super. This is definitely not like a false lash effect mascara, but it does lengthen, it does thicken a little bit, and I find that it lasts really well throughout the day, and that's usually what I'm looking for. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Eyeshadow Primer. It works really well for me, and it lasts for ages. I have been using this primer exclusively for probably pretty close to 3 years now. And this is my second tube, and I still have months worth left in it. Very fun, but just an EOS lip balm. I believe this is in the vanilla scent, though I'm not sure, and it doesn't say anywhere on it. It's fine. It's not my preferred lip balm, but it definitely gets the job done. Let's continue on with lip products. I won't swatch as I'm filming because I need my hand to hold my camera, but I will insert a picture probably at the end of this section with all of the items labeled, swatched and labeled. So the first, and probably my favorite lipstick, is this Revlon Super Lustrous in the shade Blushing Mauve. It's sort of a mauvey pink color, and I mean, this is screwed up as far as it'll go. We're getting pretty close to the end on this one. I'm kind of sad about that. I really like this color, as you can probably guess, because I've used up like 80% of the tube. I have one other Revlon Super Lustrous lipstick, and I would consider buying more. I think they're a really nice formula. This is a very coral orange, and the shade is Kiss Me Coral. I don't use this one quite as much as I use the Blushing Mauve that I just showed. I don't think that the color does quite as much for my complexion. The other blushing mauve is very much an everyday, super wearable, go with anything kind of color on me, and this coral shade is pretty much always a statement. I can definitely turn it into, use it as more of a stain, or put it over a lip balm to sheer it out a bit, but it's definitely orange leaning on me. It doesn't look pinky at all. Rounding out my Revlon lipsticks, I've got this one in Dawn. This is one of the Revlon HDs. I know this one is messy, but it's also getting near the end of its life, and it's at the point where it just doesn't really, it's not very secure in the tube anymore. So I think you can start to see these have a little bit of sheen to them. On me, this is a little bit cooler and much more pearlescent than my natural lip color, though I don't find that this is so much shimmer that it's overwhelming. My lips tend to be in pretty good shape, so this looks just a little bit glossy, and I really like that effect. Let's see if I can't screw it up all the way so you can see without causing a catastrophe. Yeah, so again, close to the end of its life, but a good life it has been. It's also worth mentioning that these smell really strongly. I don't know what exactly they smell like, but it's sort of fruity, and I can smell it on my lips for a while. Not the whole day, but I definitely can smell them for a few minutes after I apply. I'm going to move from Revlon to Maybelline. This is one of the Maybelline Creamy Mattes in the shade Almond Rose. These are a great formula. I really like this. They are matte, but they don't feel drying. I can wear these for multiple days in a row. This particular shade is quite pink leaning. I think that a bright nude is kind of a oxymoron, but that is sort of what this looks like on me. It's similar to my lips in how deep the color is, but it's much more pink. And I think that it looks not natural, but it really blends nicely with my features. It doesn't look like a statement at all. Okay, last bullet lipstick. This is the ColourPop Just Tint in the shade Chimichanga, I believe. Yep. It is a sheer reddish orange. I am actually kind of surprised by how much I like this color. It took me a while to screw that up. I bought this in a set with a sort of a dark raspberry shade, and I am surprised by how much more I like this particular color. It is really fun. I can see quite a bit of orange in it, but it is still definitely a red on my lips, and I'm surprised by just how easy it is to wear for every day. I'm a little disappointed though in how much the lettering has worn off on these. I'm always a little bit skeptical when I see YouTubers talk about how much they love these and the lettering is intact. It's like, how? How'd you do that? Teach me your sorcery, please. I currently have one lip gloss. It is the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Tiramisu. I really like this shade. I find it's an easy shade to layer on top of other things. This is a pink leaning nude on me, but it's pretty soft. I feel fine wearing it both by itself and on top of other things, which I think is a really great feature of a lip gloss. These also smell really nice. Like, there's a reason that these are such a classic in the drugstore. Finally, as far as lip products go, I have 3 liquid lipsticks. These are all minis from Sephora, and I have like a really dark raspberry, a super blackened raspberry shade. I have gotten almost no use out of this, but I want to. I want to make this look really statement and editorial and sort of 1920s film star. I just haven't figured out how to do it. This red I've actually gotten quite a bit of use out of. This is a true red that leans just a tiny bit warm. I find it so easy to wear, and I'm surprised by that because I usually don't find myself going super bright and bold, but this is really pretty. And finally, this shade. This is sort of a beige pink. It's really pretty, really easy to wear. This helps me sort of nude out my lips without going concealer lips. It's just a little bit more neutral and a little bit lighter than my lip color, but my lip color doesn't peek through. I feel like the natural transition is to go from lipsticks to these multi-sticks that I own. I have two of these. This one is sort of a rosy shade from e.l.f. It has quite a lot of glitter in it. I think you can see that. I find that the glitter really does show up, which I'm not a huge fan of. And while that looks very pretty on the eyes, I don't love it as much on the cheeks, and I really don't appreciate it on the lips. Unlike that Revlon lipstick that I showed you earlier, I think that this emphasizes texture lips, even though my lips are not particularly textured. I still find that it's like it finds wrinkles I'd never seen before and highlights them. So yeah, I'll use it on my cheeks occasionally, but I see myself using this more as an eyeshadow, which is really a shame because it feels nice going on. This is a really nice creamed powder formula. It feels soft, it feels nice to blend in, but a little too glittery. I also have this Milk Makeup mini. This was the birthday gift this year. This is in the shade Work. This is in the shade, the e.l.f. one was in the shade Sparkling Rose, for those who may be interested. This Milk one is in the shade Work. It is a very hard to open tube if you are doing this one-handed, though of course that's not really a negative or a positive. It's much more of a peachy pink. Unlike the e.l.f. one, this one doesn't have any shimmer in it. This does add a little bit of a nice glow, which I really enjoy. And it does smell a little funny. If I had had this open for a while and a product started smelling like this, I would assume it had gone off. But I think that's just the way this smells. It smells very, very faintly waxy or crayon-like. But it works really well. I like this a lot. This inspired the purchase of that e.l.f. one, and I'm a little worried that someday it will inspire the purchase of another Milk one. I only have one powder blush. It is this Tarte blush in the shade Harmony. This is a mini, but they last forever. I have had this since April of 2018, and while I did have another blush for much of that time that I was focusing on, I've been using this pretty much exclusively for about a year at this point. And while the packaging is showing signs of wear, the pan in it is still quite minimal. These are really nice. They last pretty well throughout the day. The formula is really smooth. It's easy to get a soft wash of color. I like these. I don't want to buy a full size of these Tarte blushes just because I don't want to take it to the grave with me, but I would consider picking up a kit or another mini once I'm done with this. I really like these Wet n Wild eyeshadow quads. I have 4 of them. Let's just go through them one by one, and then like with the lip products, I'll add swatches of all my eyeshadows at the end of the section. This is the purple leaning quad. It's in the shade Petal Pushers. I think that this is the worst quality of the 4 that I have. I find the two lightest shades, this white with some iridescent purple shimmer and this pink, to be very sheer. And the pink in particular is very prone to hard pan. I tend to use my fingers to apply these shimmery shades, but I do that with pretty much all of my shimmers, and I've never had as much problem with hard pan as I have with this. I have had to scrape this a couple of times. However, the transition shade is really nice. It's kind of a soft purple, and this shimmery dark purple performs really well also. I will sometimes use this white as a face highlight. I find that it's just a really pretty shade, and the fact that it doesn't have much base color, but you can see that purple iridescence works really well on the face. Let's work from least favorite to most favorite. This is actually the first one I got, which is the Sweetest Candy quad. You can tell I get quite a bit of use out of this. I don't understand why they decided to put in those two brown shades. One is shimmer and one is, but they're so similar in color, I feel it would give you a lot more variety and a lot more versatility if one had just been lighter. I use this pink quite a bit as a blush. That is probably why there's so much pan in it. It does look nice on the lid as well, but I really like how this looks as a blush. And this white, I find myself quite often dipping into, both sometimes as a face highlight, but this is sort of my go-to under the brow shade. Silent Treatment is my most recent of these Wet n Wild quads. Unlike the other ones, I don't get a lot of use out of any of these shades as a highlighter or anything like that, though occasionally I will use this cream, very, very soft yellow shimmer. I bought this mostly for the gray shade, and I do find that it makes a really pretty one shadow look all over the lid, and then blend it up into the crease a little bit. This transition shade right here, unlike the other ones, is a lot less powdery. I also think it's a little less pigmented than the other ones, which isn't really a negative for me. I like being able to build up color, and you can with this. This is a really nice quad. And my favorite here is Walking on Eggshells. It is the lighter, sort of pinky nude one. This transition shade I find myself reaching for a lot in different contexts. You can see I'm getting pretty close to having completely panned that. And I love the soft pink on my cheekbones as a highlight, and sometimes I'll use the shimmering off-white as a highlight as well. It's just a really pretty, super easy palette, and this one lived in my gym bag for months. I was using this like 4 times a week at the gym, and I love it. You can probably tell that I like my drugstore eyeshadow. These are 2 of the e.l.f. bite-sized quads that came out recently. I bought these just a couple months ago to sort of supplement the Wet n Wild eyeshadows, which are the only other ones I own. This one's called Pumpkin Pie. It's got a very warm orange-leaning brown, this copper shade, a cooler-leaning, slightly deeper brown, and this shade, which is sort of a true bronze. And the quality on this entire palette is really nice. I've also purchased the Berry Bad quad. It has a very soft pink that I use as a transition shade. This shade, which leans more orange on camera than it looks in person, though both of these shimmers have quite a bit of orange to them. This one is a little bit more on the red side, and this is more on the pink side. I can't get the orange in this particular shade to show up very well in a swatch or in the pan, but I definitely see some orange in the shade when it's on my eye. And finally, there's a matte burgundy. I'm not quite as impressed by the shades in this quad as I am with the pumpkin pie, mostly because I feel like these two shimmery shades are not particularly true to color, though they are very pretty once I use them. So there's all of my makeup. Let's look at brushes just really quickly. Just have these laid out on Kleenex because I'm filming on my floor. So I have this Wet n Wild brush, which is absolute garbage. I cannot find a good use for this. It's soft to the point of being flimsy. The bristles are not evenly cut. I don't feel like it really picks up product, even when I use it on my very soft highlighter shades, which is what I originally purchased this for. I feel like it just flies. I feel like the highlighter flies off and it doesn't actually apply much product at all. Although this black that I accidentally dipped it into has seemed to stick very well. I've had no luck with these Wet n Wild brushes, and I don't think I'm going to purchase any of them in the future. I've got this big fluffy fan brush. This is from Bella Beauty. I have no idea, I know nothing about this brand. I just found this particular brush at Goodwill. They were selling individual packaged unopened brushes, and I thought that it would be helpful for highlight, and it is. I think this was a great purchase. I have owned this e.l.f. angled blush brush for years. It does a great job of picking up powder blush, and I've also used it for highlight and occasionally for like setting powder. It's a really nice brush. It's held up really well through tons of washings, and I don't know, I really like it. I'm impressed that even the lettering on this brush is still intact. This was a great buy for what, $3, $4? And finally, if you've seen my videos, you've almost certainly seen these. This is an EcoTools brush duo. I believe it's called the Eye Defining Duo Set. It's two double-ended eye brushes. One of them has a shader brush on one side and an angled liner brush. The other one has a smudger brush on one side and a fluffy crease brush on the other. These are fantastic. Just like the e.l.f. one, I've washed these tons of times. I purchased these specifically to go in my gym bag, but they are ones that I found myself digging out even when I had access to my other brushes and just loving them. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any particular questions about anything that I own, I would be very happy to answer them. I've gotten a lot of use out of everything except for that purple liquid lipstick. So I feel qualified to answer any questions. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to see more budget-conscious beauty content. And until next time, see ya!